I invited my closest friends to join me in a conversation about something that affects millions but is often misunderstood: sickle cell disease. Sickle cell disease, a genetic condition that doesn't just affect one community but touches lives across all ethnicities. Together we share, we listen, we learn.
I can say that this past 30, 40 minutes I've spent here, I've learned so much. Like, this kind of information should be readily available everywhere.
Sickle cell is not just about pain and struggle, it's about resilience, strength, and hope. Your voice matters. Together, we can make a difference for everyone living with sickle cell because awareness is the first step towards change. Welcome to Price is Right. Oh, I have never been a public speaker at all, but I felt as though since we started this foundation, it has prompted me to having to not only tell my story, but tell stories of others. Which is why we're here today. It took me a while to settle on starting a foundation. After many years, my mom has talked to me about it, cried about it, asked me why don't I want to do this. But I'm a kind of person where I feel like everyone who have known me understands that if I want to do something, it has to be done right. I just don't want to have it just fly off the air and in 2 years it tanked. I wanted to make sure that this is something that not only is a legacy for the people who are working hard for this, but also it's a legacy for people who are going to survive by this. So I wanted it to be very special. That's why it took me for so long to even register a name. But we have landed at a point whereby I feel as though the work we have done is just this bit, and we need to get to a level where we don't have a lot of casualties. And when I mean by casualties, we're going to understand that as we get to speak and conversate with each other. As you can look around, I had to make sure that this set was very handpicked, not only by occupation, but by race. One thing my grandma always mentioned is the fact that many hands do light work. What that means is if we all can come into the pot, we can make a great meal, as long as we are all in agreement. Because sometimes too many hands can ruin things too. But if we're all in agreement of what delicious meal we're trying to make, I believe we can make something spectacular. So I decided to select the people that are in here today. Some couldn't make it. We were almost at 18 people, but some couldn't make it. But I'm happy for the turnout that we have. And I wanted to make sure that we have a conversation that it's not only for people who are knowledgeable about the situation, but people who have no idea and can be able to openly speak about these things without being judged or being looked at in a certain way. The topic today is sickle cell. It's dear to me because I know some of you don't know, but I would share a couple of things whereby I've never spoken about it in the public before, and some friends who are here who have seen me go through crisis and situations understand why this means a lot to me. I will also want you guys to learn about the things that I have suffered from and the things people are continuing to suffer from every day. So I wanted us to make sure that we have a great time. I don't want it to be a sad moment at all. I just want it to be a teachable experience so we can all learn and be able to be a better advocate for the people who needs us to be better. Now I'll start with my name. My name is Emmanuel. I'm a lovely son. Well, I presume they think I'm lovely, but I'm a lovely son of John Eben and Justina Eben. My parents started having kids when they were very young. When I mean young, I mean my dad was 16, my mom was 14. My older sister looked exactly the same as my mom. You can think they're sisters. They get confused about that a lot. So when my parents started life, back in Cameroon. Oh, let me go back to my introduction. Emmanuel Ibn, originally from Cameroon. I am a person of many tasks, but right now, when we talk about professional tasks, I have a healthcare business which I've been running for since 2016, and that has been able to, well, sustain me in America, I guess.
More than.
But yeah, John and Justina Eben started when they were very young, and they had Melvis, then they had Glovis, and they had Emmanuel, which is me. Then they had Pearl, and 10 years later, I never knew my parents were still shacking, and they had Blessing. So, Blessing came up as a blessing as well. She has been a blessing to many things in the family, and it's been amazing just having a younger sister. Even though I would wanted them to try for a younger brother, but I think it's too late. But yeah, they started having kids young. Family never accepted their relationship because I guess it was two people just in love with each other, and just like that, they ended up having a baby, which was my older sister Melvis, and of course, when you start with one, why not get to five? So we are five siblings with multiple adopted children from my parents, and it's been amazing having them as family. And I continue to. I will, in the next life, I would definitely still want them as family. Um, I would like everyone to introduce themselves because we are very different in this capacity based on occupation and race. I would like you to highlight yourself in what you do and your name as well, where you're from, and so we can begin. So, right to left, we'll start with Mr. Richard right here.
My name is Richard Iroko. I'm half Nigerian and half Ghanaian. I'm a Power BI developer as well as an entertainment consultant. And I'm happy to be here for Manu.
My name is EJ Akiradolu. I'm Nigerian. I'm a real estate developer, entrepreneur. I'm happy to be here for my guy Manny.
Thank you.
I'm happy to be here.
My name is Brittany Lemons. I'm originally from mid-Michigan, about an hour north of Detroit, and I'm an art dealer.
My name is Peter Kalade. I'm from Nigeria, Yoruba boy. And I work in healthcare. I work in research. And I'm happy to be here for my guy, Manny.
Amazing.
My name is Tosin Siriki. I'm also Nigerian, Yoruba. By profession, I'm a dentist, but I'm many, many other things. I'm happy to support Emmanuel as well.
My name is Maria Wambo. By profession, I'm a medical doctor. Not yet practicing, but soon, by God's grace. I'm currently working in healthcare with Emmanuel too, and from Cameroon, and I'm happy to be here to support him.
I'm Jessica Valdivieso. I'm from Bolivia. I'm a painter, and I, know Manny from the art world because he's a supporter of the artist. So, yeah, I love to support him.
My name is Zoya. I'm originally from India, and I'm a licensed social worker.
My name is Timmy Tagalaja. I go by Timmy. I work in tech. I've been knowing Manny for a long time, since when I used to stop back in the day. I'm just here to support my brother and be here for him.
Hi, Art Koning, born and raised in the Netherlands, and then moved to the States, where I became an American. And used to live in New York, and then moved down to Dallas. I'm in an art gallery, and I'm an art dealer, and that's how I know Emmanuel, of course. Of course, I'm very happy to be here.
So as you can see, we have a diverse crowd today. This was intentional because I feel as though there's so many things we all can achieve when we come together and get things done. As a community, we need to be able to educate our community as well as advocate for the ones who don't have a voice. Which is why I'm here, so we can have this conversation. We could talk. We could just. I know I mentioned what this was going to be about, And also people was like, do I need to go research? I really didn't want any research to be done because I wanted you to come as you are. This is like a church as well. I wanted it to be a thing whereby we are able to learn from each other and also learn through, information that I'll be presenting as well. I would like to thank Google. I would like to thank
the real MVP.
I'd like to thank Google. I'd like to thank the CDC for more information. I also like to thank ChatGPT.
Okay. The real MVP.
So it's been amazing researching and also knowing more about myself and about the things that I struggle with. Sometimes if you don't learn, you will never know exactly how you can live better and know better. So I'll start with a few stats so we'll understand. And my opening thing I wanted to talk about is that sickle cell affects so many people in the community that we are currently living in. Some people might not be able to talk about it. People are just scared to just, let you understand that they have sickle cell. Because I know for myself, when I started this journey, I never knew I had sickle cell till I moved to the United States. I was 13, almost 14 when I moved to the States. And back in Cameroon, all I was always told was that I had a spleen problem. I had some kind of issues, but there was never a diagnosis that stated that it was sickle cell. When I moved to the state in April of 2004, I got into a very severe situation which led me to Children's Medical Hospital, and from there I was diagnosed. The reason why they diagnosed me with sickle cell, well, I didn't know the reason, but before that, my parents were telling them I had a spleen issue. That was what I've been suffering from Cameroon. So it was always, he just had a spleen issue. I think that can be treated. So when they were treating that, my situation just kept getting worse because they never knew what my diagnosis was immediately. So as time went by, a couple of days went by, they found out I was going to get better till they ran all the tests. And of course, I believe one of the tests they ran is called, I can't pronounce the name, but it started with an E. But they ran the test, also like a genotype test, which brought to information of Dr. What does he say? Electrophoresis. There you go. So that test led to them knowing that I have sickle cell. And it was so hard because I never knew what that name was. I've never heard about it in Cameroon growing up. I just thought it was okay, maybe it's a sickness, I could just take a pill and probably would be done. But coming to find out that I had to live with this for the rest of my life. Because there is somewhat of cure, but it's not yet stable to where we can say it's a cure. There are multiple research happening about sickle cell. There's different treatments of how you can live and stay healthy living with sickle cell, but there's never that one thing that can say, okay, I can just take this treatment today and I'm fine. I don't have to have any crisis forever in my life. I don't have to worry about having a organ situation or having a stroke or all those situations. But I had to learn about myself, educate myself, understand myself to whereby I can tell you now in 2 or 3 days if I'm gonna get a crisis or not. Because I'm having to be able to cope with it, understand it, and learn from it. So I wanted us to talk because a lot of people don't have this information. I was talking to Temi earlier last week, and he mentioned a situation whereby he encountered, and I would like him to share about that as we go on in this note cards that I have in my hand. But we're gonna start. I just want to give a couple of stats really quick about what is really happening. But before we start, I just need you to give me 1 minute. We're gonna play a little icebreaker real quick. All right, amazing. We're all in agreement. There we go. First question. So this game goes by if you like somebody, but we're not playing that today. We're playing a more important topic today. So please, if you believe you know your genotype, I want you to pop that balloon. Or even if you know even if you know your parents' genotype, if you believe you know, but this is more important to you. If you believe you know your genotype, pop the balloon.
God, do all that? Can't do that. Thank you.
That's what they're for.
Amazing. So the reason for this exercise is because when my parents started having kids, again I mentioned they were very young, and it has translated to the point where in our society right now, the kids only get tested when they are when at birth in America. But that only happens in the United States or maybe other countries. But when it comes to African countries and low poverty areas in the world, they do not test. So, but it's required that before you get married, you run a STD or HIV test. Those are the only tests that they passed out. But this genotype test is very important because it also helps to understand who you're getting married to, who your what genotype your partner have, because people also confuse it to a blood group. Doctor can explain more about that, but a blood group on a genotype test is different. So when it comes to genotype, we have an AS, we have an AA, we have an SS, we have SC. So the better compatibility for low reduced sickle cell babies if when an AA and an AS are married. Now if we have an AS and an AS get married, there is a chance that we will have a child in that circle who's gonna have either a SC or a SS. So how do we stop this if we do not know our genotype? Some of us are usually just running to love because, okay, I'm in love with this person. But I've seen people who have run to love and end up losing the baby at 5 years, 5 months, or 5 days old. I talk about this because since I started the Sickle Cell Foundation, I've had so many information come to me and I just like, what is really happening? And one thing I noticed was that this information needs to be done before you get married to someone, so you know. I would love that you know what you're getting into rather than you going in clueless and ended up blaming your partner. There's so many marriages that have ended because of this situation, and the goal is to make sure that we do not have this continue as time goes, so we can be able to heal and learn and advocate for it. Our parents talk about it a lot when it comes to us being Africans, but usually we still just want to just go ahead and just do what we feel like is right. I speak of this because as of 2 weeks ago, Anna, our accountant and planner and everything, she contacted me and said there was a 5-year-old baby, 5 days old baby who was just rushed to the hospital. And the parents have had 2 kids prior to that which had sickle cell. This baby now also has sickle cell, and the baby ended up dying 5 days after. So if we don't know this information, how can we learn? Which is why I want us to learn today and be able to understand exactly what sickle cell is, how it affects, the treatment that can be used, and how you can always make sure that you are in the right place to advocate for someone who needs your help. I'll read some stats that you can let the balloon go.
That's it?
Yes.
Oh, that
That's it.
That's our guilt up there.
All right. So some few stats that I learned about, reading more about sickle cell over the years that I would like to share. Estimated the number of people who pass away from sickle cell disease daily is challenging due to variation in healthcare access, treatment, and complication across different regions. However, globally, SCD primarily affects people of African descent, but it also impacts population in India, Middle East, the Caribbean, Latin America. In regions with poor access to healthcare, such as Sub-Saharan Africa, it is estimated that up to 90% of the children born with SCD die before the age of 5 due to lack of treatment, complications like infections or organ damage. According to the World Health Organization, over 100,000 babies are born with SCD every year in sub-Saharan Africa alone. And without adequate care, many do not survive. While specific global daily health statistics are not readily available, based on these numbers, the death toll could range in hundreds per day. Wow, that's worldwide, especially in resource poor areas. In countries with better healthcare access, survival rates are much higher, with people living into adulthood. Mortality rates from sickle cell disease vary significantly based on region, healthcare qualities, access to early diagnosis, treatment availability, and more. I'll share some more stats, then we'll lead into the questions. Actually, let's go to the questions. Once we go, then we'll go into some stats. How about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So, again, anyone is free to answer. Anyone can chime in as you like or as you wish to if you have the proper answer. There's no wrong or right. We just want to learn, okay? So, from left to right, what is sickle cell disease and how is it inherited? I believe I gave that away, but...
From my understanding, it's when the two parents have half of the symptoms and it comes together to the child.
Correct. Anyone want to chime in?
Yeah.
You have to have the gene.
Yeah,
You have to have the gene, right?
Yeah.
And then the other parent has to have that gene that will like activate.
It's half
right?
of the gene, right?
And then you have the trait.
Correct.
Right? And then maybe you'll have the condition later, right?
Correct.
Are you the only one in your family?
Yes. With the disease.
Out of the 5, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, sickle cell disease is a genetic blood disorder characterized by the presence of abnormal hemoglobin called hemoglobin S. Instead of the normal round shape, the red blood cells take a sickle or a crescent shape, which can lead to blockage in the blood flow. It is an inherited condition, meaning a person must inherit 2 sickle cell genes, one from each parent, to have the disease. If they inherit only 1 sickle cell gene, they will have the sickle cell trait, but not the disease itself. So this is what we're talking about when it comes to a normal blood cell and a sickle cell.
So it like reduces to that shape.
Like a crescent, a half.
Wow.
And the reason, but because lack of oxygen.
Yeah, so essentially, oxygen attaches to your red blood cells. If it's sickle cell shaped, it doesn't have the surface area for the right amount of oxygen to attach to it, and your blood is moving, and it supplies blood to all of your systems. So if you're not getting the amount of oxygen in the right areas because of the sickle cell shape, certain systems in your body are not going to function in the same way, and or it can cause blockages, right? It can cause a lot of different symptoms that present in a lot of different ways, which is what a crisis is.
We'll get to that very soon, but thank you for that. So this is what we're talking about when we speak on that. This is a healthy blood, and this is a sickle cell. What are the different types of sickle cell disease? The main type of sickle cell disease includes the HBSS. The most severe form occurs when the person inherits 2 sickle cell genes, one from each parent, which is what I have. There's HBSC, a milder form result when a person inherits 1 sickle cell gene and 1 gene from another abnormal hemoglobin called the hemoglobin C. Then we have the HBS, a beta thalassemia. I don't know what that word is, but
Thalassemia.
Thalassemia, okay. Occurs when a person inherits 1 sickle cell gene and 1 gene from a beta
Thalassemia.
There we go. Another blood disorder. Then we have what is the HBAS, a sickle cell trait. A sickle cell trait is what you have when you not a normal form of the disease, but means the person carries one sickle cell gene. They usually do not show symptoms, but can pass the gene to their offspring.
That's me. I said that's me.
Okay, amazing. So we go on to the symptoms. What are the common symptoms of sickle cell? Anyone want to share?
Having pale eyes. Having pale eyes.
Okay.
Anemia?
Yeah.
Like dizziness.
You were mentioning spleen pain before, so
Jaundice,
pain.
Jaundice. Yeah.
chronic pain.
Pain crisis.
Yeah, chronic acute pain actually.
Yes.
Bleeding.
Visceral.
Did that in my gallery.
Common symptoms include pain crisis. Sudden episode of pain causes by blocked blood flow due to sickle cell shaped cells clubbing, gathering together, and I'll show you guys this.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
They get clogged because of the shape.
Because of the
Yeah,
shape.
exactly.
As they're going through the vessels, yeah.
a regular blood, regular blood cell easily flows, but the fact that there's so much of the crescent shape, they usually get stuck, and from there limits the amount of oxygen that the body gets and leads to pain.
Yeah.
And that's how,
The regular red blood cell is also flexible in the sense that it squeezes itself through capillaries and stuff. But the crescent shape can't squeeze itself because of its shape. So if it gets to a smaller capillary, and depending on how it's flowing with the shape and it starts, then everybody else just stops there.
And that causes blood clot, I'm guessing. So that's
Not blood clot. It just there's no blood flow to the organ or the part of the body after. So that part, because it doesn't have any oxygen, you start getting pain to that region.
And how often does this happen?
it varies. There's no a time, I can't say 2 days from now I'm expecting one. But I will go to what causes some of those.
Yeah, it just has triggers, not
to happen.
What happens to the nucleus of the cell? Because that's important, like the middle, right? What?
So the red blood cell doesn't have a nucleus.
Okay.
That's a characteristic. Even the normal red blood cell doesn't have a nucleus.
Okay.
That's why if you look at the picture he showed you, the center is pale because it's an enucleated cell.
Amazing. We're getting into somewhere. There's anemia caused by the rapid breakdown of cells, leading to a fatigue, shortness of breath, swelling of hands and feet due to blocked blood flow. Then there's frequent infections. Because sickle cell can damage the spleen, all organs that helps fight infection. That's why there's most of the time there's always. So I get a flu shot a lot because any kind of infection can prone me to get a crisis. So we're easily prone to certain infections. So I try to make sure I stay healthy. So I'll talk more about that as we go. Then there's what we call delayed growth in children due to chronic anemia. So there's I don't have a picture yet, but if you could see me a couple of years ago, I was, I believe, 18, but I would look as if I was 5 or 6 or 7. So in certain times, you see it happening, but in certain, you don't see it. Or when I go back to Cameroon a lot, I see it all the time. Because there's so many kids, you can be about 25 and they still look almost about their 11 years or 12 years old. This is because of that sickle cell stunt growth. What triggers sickle cell crisis and how can it be managed? Triggers can include dehydration, extreme temperatures, stress, high altitude, and infections. Management involves hydration, drinking plenty of water, pain relief using medications like NSAID, which is there's different medications that are being used right now, but the top one that helps boost the hemoglobin is called hydroxyurea. So I'm on hydroxyurea every day because that also helps give me a better hemoglobin count, and which can help ease off with the stress or crisis. There's also opioids, medications during pain crisis. I probably have one of the highest dose of hydrocodones available at any time I need, because I feel like I've maxed out on anything that I don't care if your Tylenol is strong or not strong, ibuprofen, whatever. Those don't work anymore. So I have to keep a high dose of hydrocodone all the time. Avoiding triggers, staying warm, managing stress, and avoiding high altitude areas. Some of you all just believe I'm so happy all the time because I want to be happy. But I try not to let stress get to me, because my mom, she always warns me, like, please take it easy on yourself. Some of you know, they always tell me you need to relax. But I do my best. But I just want to share some of these things so we know. So if you encounter somebody, you're able to talk about it and be able to help them. Medical care, seeking medical attention during severe crisis or infections is very important. And we'll talk about that because I would like Timmy to share the information that he had this past week.
I'll be honest, I'm not like a subject matter expert on on sickle cell, but when Manny reached out that day, the day before, at my building, there's this military guy that I usually have conversations with every day or randomly. We go walking around. We saw a homeless person, it's downtown, so there's always homeless people all the time. But the guy wasn't breathing and whatnot, and Freddie being a Marine, he just making sure it's okay, because white people literally are walking past him, stepping over and walking away. So he tried to hear him out, and you could tell his breathing was very faint. So we called the cops, to pull up to come over, so they took him to the hospital. But Freddie had an update later on and found out that he had sickle cell, and I just thought that's why I'm here. I don't know too much about this, but I just felt that in reaching out and that happening around that time frame was kind of okay, I need to be here to talk about it. And what I took from that is mainly there's a lot of people out here that are sick, that are don't have no means of medical help or anything like that. And I can only imagine somebody being homeless and having that type of disease or anything, that situation, and not getting the right help that they need. And I'm sure he probably wants to go to the hospital all the time, but hospitals don't see you unless it's super critical, And I think it's a big problem that we're having, and it's something that I've definitely looked into since that day, to be honest, just because it's kind of messed up, man. In all honesty, just seeing somebody homeless walking past them and they can't do nothing for them. But that was the story, basically.
Just to chip in, I think there's a severe lack of information about
that too.
Personally, growing up, I knew about sickle cell, but I didn't realize how serious it was. We had a family in church who the mom was sickle cell, and I think the daughter was. Then along the line, the mom died, and we just had complications from sickle cell. It still didn't hit until I moved to America, met Manny, got close to Manny. Then I started seeing some of the things he was going through. And I realized, wow, this thing is people don't know. People still, sometimes back home in Africa, people still know their genotype and still get married the same, and basing it on religion that, oh, God will not let that happen to you. The information needs to be spread out for people to know, to prevent it. It's always a hard time seeing your loved one going through that kind of pain. So I just wanted to chip in that information is really key when it comes to sickle cell.
Anyone want to share more?
Yeah, I'm here not only did you not, reach out to me, but, we had a close family friend, that just recently died. Rest in peace, Dennis, and it was really deep, and I've known him really my whole life. We grew up together, and just to hear what he was going through, and how he passed, it just didn't sit right with me. And, so many people spoke at the funeral, and, I saw you there as well. And, I never really even knew you had sickle cell, to be honest, but I just started connecting the dots, and, I just want to learn as much as I can and spread that information, because I think it's very valuable and it's needed in our community. But, it makes me want to help, and support you in any way possible, man, that I can, because, you a good brother, man, so I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I also think that one of the main issues, just to keep it all the way 100, is a Black disease. And that's something that I've heard my entire, being able to understand even a small part of what it is. I knew somebody in high school with it. It's a predominantly white school. He was one of the only Black guys in the school. He had, sickle cell. That was his identifier, unfortunately. And that was kind of my first instance of hearing about it. And then, getting into sciences and all of that, we learn about it, but they've always tagged it, as like, this is predominantly African, Middle Eastern. And it's almost like we learn about it in that same way, kind of like how you explained it's sub-Saharan Africa, there's lack of resources, and that's why they don't have the numbers. It's like, it's the same kind of tone. And so I'm also happy to be here, because I feel like there's so many wonderful people here from so many different places, and it's nice to get just a more well-rounded idea. And also, like, although it affects a certain population, it still should affect everybody. It's still health, if it's not you who has it, then it's somebody on the street, who now you've heard that word, and if they say that word, you're able to understand how, at least the questions to ask, or if there's an ambulance coming to say, hey, this person has this. So I kind of I hope that we can get away from that stigma, because I think that it hurts more than it helps our community and the communities who are around us.
Amazing. Anyone want to chime in?
I don't think, we need to focus on this, because I don't think we should classify sickness from Africa or from a place, like, if it's a sickness, it should be everyone's business, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we need to make it our business, and now that we know that people are actively in pain, and they might not even know why they are in pain, that is very concerning, and because people are gonna auto-medicate, and that can lead to other things, so addiction and more problems. So I think that just awareness of this can stop so many,
and being preventative is also saves a lot of resources, helps a lot of people to live a lot more productive life. That's always the joke. It's like we heal once somebody's sick, or the situation where this gentleman had to go so far in his life. We don't know the whole situation, but let's assume it's because of illness, couldn't hold his job, or et cetera, and it could have been prevented. Something as simple as a blood test, not to say it's a simple test, but relatively speaking. Yeah. And that's, I'm curious, the test, and especially we're talking about means, and especially the means of Africa, and what are we actually talking about? Like, what are those? What does a test cost?
So, when we started the foundation, I wanted everybody that was involved to get a genotype testing done. So we saw multiple clinics, but the cheapest one we could find was at Quest, I believe, Anna? Mm-hmm. Quest. Charges only $55 to get a test. That's how much it costs.
But also,
here.
I think
That's
with a
here.
testing,
Here, which means how much is it gonna try to?
I think back home, the key problems are that lack of information and infrastructure.
Yes.
I don't think it's that expensive back home too.
no, actually, it's not. I don't think so, because it's so.
Cameroon is 15,000 francs.
Yeah,
Even COVID. Africa got COVID well. They did well. They set up clinics all over the place. They could absolutely do it.
Because I
So I feel
think
like
even
it's infrastructure and
I agree.
And the awareness.
I agree.
the awareness. Yeah.
They really don't know much about it. It's one of those things where you think it's okay, malaria is a thing in Africa, and then they think sickle cell is like, let me
Exactly.
classify it as malaria.
Exactly.
But they don't see how much damage it goes on to cause in the long run.
Like it's a chronic
you know,
disease. It's a genetic chronic disease.
Stuff. We had when I was in secondary school, there was this little girl who came in, and we constantly kept, you know, she for some reason she kept being in, because I went to boarding school back in Cameroon, and she was always in pain, and we're trying to understand why is she always in pain. She can't attend class. She'll come to the infirmary with the nurses. I happen to be one of the infirmarians later that, and she'd always want to either lay down with her legs raised. So she ended up telling us, oh, she has sickle cell. But you have little information about it. You don't know, and unfortunately, Desiree passed away. She barely made it to 21, and she passed away. You have no information about what to do next. There's first of all no information, like Manny hit a point where when you want to find the spouse, we want to do HIV testing, STD testing. I wish you can actually, you know, put out the word there, get genotype testing, because that's the first thing. And you hit another point, religion. God help us.
I was just about to bring that up too, man.
God help us. I mean, sometimes we have to tell people God gives us the information to use it.
Yes.
You know, He put it out there so that we can use it.
I don't like that.
Some people actually know and tell you that. Like then when you tell them, you become the devil.
Yeah, but I think if we really do more of awareness and education, and hopefully, God help us, the people actually listen and put it into action.
So a quick question, as far as like going to Quest to get the genotypic testing, is that something you can just go to Quest, or you need a note from your doctor? Because I think that's another.
That's good.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to know that, because I know some people are like, oh yeah, my doctor just told me I have to get a note. And,
I think some places, I know some places require a doctor's note, but we found out Quest do not.
Quest
you
do not.
Need to just go ahead and fill out an appointment and of course indicate what you're trying to get.
That's a good one for you know, the community.
And it's $55 out of pocket or $55. Okay.
With
insurance.
But yeah, it is out of pocket.
But $55 out of pocket.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's not bad at all.
That's not bad.
With insurance?
Without
no,
insurance.
without. Yeah.
Yes. So I'll share a few things before I go into some more stats. We're almost done. I wanted to share that. Consider the fact that I was always getting sick, every time, always in the hospital, various hospitals. I have a documentary coming out very soon, which is just progression of how we led to the foundation and talking about myself more. I want to share some few things with you guys here today so you get a glimpse of it. Always getting sick was the point where I felt like the doctors labeled me as I would die at the age of 25. Because a lot of kids do not even make it past 21. Your age stamp they give you, especially most certainly in Africa, they'll tell you 21, 25 max. You cannot pass that. There's some people who end up going above that and sometimes, you know, get complications. Of course, they die. But my time stamp was 25. I'm happy to tell you guys today I'm 34 years old. And this is not only because I was just frolicking around, not thinking of myself, because I was able to attend the information and treat myself better and follow the instructions of my doctors and live a healthy life. So with healthy living and of course right healthcare infrastructure, we can make we can make people live longer and healthier. So I want to share that. I also want to share a story from a girl. We talked about, you know, the situation happening in Africa. There was a lady that I met, you know, in Cameroon. Two ladies. One, she from age 2, actually from 6 months old, she mentioned that when they found out she was always getting sick, they would take her to the river and leave her there, and saying that she was a bad child and waiting for the water to wash her away. She suffered that for many months, almost years, before they were able to take her away from that village. There was another lady that you also see in the documentary. Her parents had 9 of them. The dad left the mom, and 8 of her siblings passed away from sickle cell at a very young age. She's about 27 years old now, almost 30, I believe. And she never knew what she had till of recent. I'm talking about, when I mean recent, I mean like maybe a year ago or 2 years ago.
Wow.
But it was also late because she found out that the person that she had a baby with also had an AS gene type. And the baby also, the son that she has now also has sickle cell as well. So this is information that I want us to know because we are able to really learn, understand, and we are able to advocate and share this information because it's very important so we know. Because if we don't know, we will continue in the same trend and in the same habits, and of course we will continue to lose so many younger kids. I want to share with some more mortality rates really quick that is happening around the world. Again, this are also not accurate because there can be more. It's just because the data is not there to present itself. In sub-Saharan Africa, we have a very high mortality rate. Population impact. This region accounts for 75% of global sickle cell disease.
75% is
75%.
That's a lot.
Child mortality, as mentioned earlier, up to 90% of the children born with SCD die before the age of 5 due to lack of access to early diagnosis and treatment. Death rate. Given these statistics, it's estimated that over 300 children die annually from complications of SCD in Africa, which translates to nearly 1,000 deaths per day in the region alone.
Oh, 100 per day.
1,000 deaths a day.
1,000.
India and Middle East, moderate mortality. Population impact. In India, approximately 25 million people carry the sickle cell trait, with 100,000 to 150,000 children born with the disease each year. Mortality rates are moderate due to variability of healthcare access. Mortality rate in regions with better infrastructure such as urban areas, early diagnosed, managed treatment improvement, survival. However, rural areas still see high mortality rates. High income countries, low mortality rates. United States. In the United States, around 100,000 people have sickle cell disease, with most living into adulthood due to better health care. Child mortality. Death from sickle cell disease in children have decreased significantly due to newborn screening, vaccinations, and better treatment like hydroxyurea and transfusion therapies. Adult mortality. Mortality rates rise in adulthood due to complications like organ failures. However, death in high income countries are far lower than the regions without access to comprehensive care. In the United States, SCD patients live on average into 40s or 50 years old. Why this is important? Because we need to know exactly what's happening. If I didn't tell you today, you will never know how many people are dying with sickle cell every day. So I wanted to bring this stats so we understand and we're able to learn and know exactly that this is not something that, we are quick to hear. We don't hear, but it's happening. So many people are losing lives. So many people are just going into getting married and just foregoing the tests and all those things, which is leading to so many deaths.
Yeah, that's a sense of urgency for sure.
I can say that this past 30, 40 minutes I've spent here, I've learned so much. Like, this kind of information should be readily available everywhere.
And before I came, I actually looked up the stats, and they say 1 in every 10 black households there's someone with sickle cell in America, for sure.
I think that's also what's interesting, what you had mentioned as well, is the stigma needs to be removed, that it's not this curse or this thing, but that actually by getting a test you can be a preventive parent. And as a parent, and I am one, you try to do the best you can for your child. So this is just another step for you to be able to, and it's not, but I do think just because of the absence of information, it quickly becomes, oh, it's this person. Oh, it's just a black disease. And then it's like, gets put in all these corners and no help, no communication. And it's like, well, it's not my problem, so I'll see you guys later. You know, which is ridiculous. And it's scary to even, when you hear those numbers, I mean, that should affect us all.
Yes.
I think the impact of the stigma is really, really high. Because I can remember back then, secondary school and all those things, there's this way you look at somebody that has sickle cell, right?
Yeah.
But like looking back now, this person is not responsible for this condition.
Right.
I mean, the person is suffering. It wasn't his fault. But then everybody kind of has this stigma like, oh, this person has sickle cell. So those stigmas needs to be broken down with good information and through the right channels to our people.
It's also quite alarming, you know, the number of people that don't know their genotype. Just like we just popped the balloon right now, just only a few of us that know it. And I don't understand why it's not being pushed out there. And this is just to say, even just seeing a family, you know, practice doctor, like, I don't see any family practice doctors like pushing people to go get their genotype. They say, oh yeah, you're physical, you're yellow physical, oh you're good, you get your blood work, all right, go. You know, and nobody's really talking about that. But I remember growing up, my genotype I already knew that as a kid, like since I was like maybe 6, 7. But it was also a standard growing up in Nigeria. Probably that's one thing they do well in Nigeria. Every other thing they always mess it up. I remember like it was like a standard thing, like when you have a new baby, the hospital tests for it. So we've always known that as a kid. So when I come here and I talk to my American friends, like you mentioned genotype today, it seems like you're speaking French. Like what are you talking about? You know, and it's like, so I don't know, like, you know, for America being, you know, a stage where medical experts are highly respected, I don't know why that's not being talked about a lot, you know, to parents, to people, you know, adults seeing doctors and stuff like that, you know.
I want to piggyback off what Richard said, and I think Lumide said it too. So, about 4 months ago, maybe 3 months if I'm not mistaken, I had a friend travel to Kenya. She went over, actually Uganda, sorry. She went over for a mission trip. And in that mission trip, she had a young girl who was about 13, 14 years old. And of course, she heard us talk about this on the social media page and all of that. She was happy, you know, talk to me, express how this information is helpful. When she traveled, she came across this little girl. This girl, again, I mentioned 13, maybe 14, if I'm not mistaken. This little girl was able to reveal to her that she has sickle cell. And she said the little girl wanted to speak to me. And I said, of course, let's set up a time. We talked. And the first question she asked me was if I had friends.
Oh.
That was the first question she asked me.
That's sad.
Is if I had friends. Because apparently, every time she mentioned to a friend that she has sickle cell, they don't want to be her friend.
It's the stigma.
The stigma. The stigma goes all the way deep, because even in Cameroon, I had there's a family that we support with our foundation right now. This lady came and told me and my mom and mentioned that her son was being exiled from the classroom because it wasn't that the friends didn't want to talk to her. It was that the teacher was pushing the friends not to be a friend of this little boy, because the teacher would say to them, oh, leave him alone, he will soon die.
Oh, God.
Wow.
And
Ignorance.
They'll say that. They'll say that too.
And the kids
They'll say that too.
The kids don't want to play with the boy. The kids don't want to do anything. And there's another family who mentioned to me that for almost 3 years, the teacher tormented the kid inside a class because the kid had pain crisis and would not let the kid go home. The kid had pain crisis and had to use the restroom. The teacher would not let the kid use the restroom, and the kid would usually peed and do everything right there in the class, and the kids in the class would laugh at that little boy. Wow. I share this because this also happened to me, and I remember now because I never knew I had sickle cell back then. Yeah. I was in class, I believe it was 4th grade or whatever we had, and I needed to use the restroom so bad. In that instant, I felt like I was having pain crisis. My teacher did not let me go to the restroom because we were supposed to be studying something, and in that instant, I did everything right there. And I had to cry and call my parents to come pick me up. And I have a parent who can drive because they knew what I was suffering with. They could drive and come pick me up at any time. But we have parents who are having kids who don't even know what the child has. So how can they even help their own child when they don't know they don't have this information? And they another family shared with me. There's a lady with 3 sons, and the husband left because they thought the lady's family came from witchcraft. Because why would the kids be getting sick all the time?
I was just going to say, if they can, in Africa, if they can't explain it, it's witchcraft, the devil, or you're a cursed child.
Yeah.
And so that's why I said ignorance, because they just can't explain it.
So I wanted this conversation to be had because there's so much information that is missing.
Yeah.
The understanding of how sickle cell occurs in the body, how we carry it, how we can share it, and how we can be better advocates to the people that really need the help.
Yes. So how do we bridge the gap?
How do we bridge the gap? We will get there.
Education.
How does sickle cell disease diagnose? I'll read this one. I don't want you to see this one. It can be diagnosed with a simple blood test, like we mentioned. Newborns are commonly screened using a test called hemoglobin electrophoresis. If the test is detected abnormal hemoglobin, further testing is conducted to confirm the diagnosis. What are the longest term complications of sickle cell disease? Sickle cell disease can lead to various complications such as organ damage, especially to the spleen, liver, kidney, heart, and lungs. Stroke due to blocked blood flow in the brain. Acute chest syndrome, a severe lung condition. Chronic pain due to joint and bone damage. Vision problems due to damage to the blood vessels in the eyes. What treatments are available for sickle cell disease? Treatments aim to manage symptoms and prevent complications. They include such as hydroxyurea to reduce the frequency of pain crisis and antibiotics to prevent the infection. I would say before we even get to that, there's one thing I wanted to also share. Now, I've had to live a very healthy lifestyle, I believe, since, don't get me wrong, I wasn't living so much of a healthy lifestyle till 2015 when I had a very, very, very serious situation. I didn't bring that picture here, but I would have loved for you guys to see it. I went to Nigeria and I caught malaria. And upon that, I came back home 3 days or 2 days after. I had a crisis. I went to the hospital and ended up in a coma for a week. It took me almost a month to get out of the hospital, and in that time when I got back, I had to learn how to walk. I had a little bit of loss of memory. I had an issue with my kidneys. I had an issue with my liver. So I had to keep taking medications to heal those things. So these are things that are constantly happening all the time. So it led me to live a very, I would say, healthy lifestyle in a way. You know, I know how to manage my crisis better. I know when things will present itself. Sometimes it can just happen. Like me and Olumide traveled to Nigeria in January. I was literally taking him to the airport that night or that early morning at 4 a.m. And my flight was to be taken off at 12 noon. So I dropped him off, we're heading back to the house to go pack my load so I can get to the airport for my flight. And I was packing my bags, there was just one pain right here. I felt like it was never going away. But the thing is, I knew it was happening because when, I only remember we had a flat tire, that we had to switch cars. The weather had shifted from warm to cold. So, and I only had on shorts and t-shirt. And the area where we were at, there was mosquitoes and everything just happening in that whole area right there. And it took us a long time to get back to the apartment. And as soon as I got there, I was packing and this pain just didn't go away. I popped my first hydrocodone. Usually I would tell if it's working after 15 minutes. 15 minutes passed, it wasn't going anywhere. I did the second one. It's like, let me just lay down, maybe I'm stressed. I laid down. Time passed, it wasn't anywhere. I went and shook Olumide's brother. He was sleeping, you know, so I told him, hey, I need to go to the hospital. It's like, no, everyone was tired. It was like, the driver is downstairs. Go tell the driver. So and I rushed and told the driver, go bless him. He didn't even hesitate. It's like, what's happening? Let's go. And we picked up and we went to the hospital. Now, ever since leaving Africa, I have never been admitted at a hospital in Africa before. So this was my first time. So I was worried. I didn't know how the treatment was gonna go.
The worst hospitals ever.
So I just choose the best one with the best recommendation and the closest one too, because I couldn't risk going too far.
Yeah.
I got to, I believe it's Evercare in Lagos, in Lekki, and I walked in. The fact that I know what I have, I'm able to talk to the nurses about it and the doctors about it. I have the information that I can provide. Because people don't have the information, so how can they advocate for themselves when they go to the hospital?
Right.
As soon as I got there, I told the nurse, I'm having a sickle cell crisis. It's abnormal because I have been healthy, I've been taking my meds, doing what I need to do, but this one is coming up from nowhere. I need either, because usually my medication don't work, I usually have to be put in morphine. Morphine would lay me out flat and the pain would subside. But I discovered that I caught an infection while I was in Lagos, and it wasn't even about the pain. It was that I caught pneumonia because I was sleeping under the AC for a long time every day, and the pneumonia had triggered my hemoglobin to drop to 6.9. So 7 and above, amazing. You can be okay without any crisis. But when you go below that 6, some people will say it's normal, but it's not to me, because as soon as I get over 7, get below 7, it becomes a problem and I can get a crisis. So we went down to 6.9, and I was talking to the doctor after they ran the test. It's like, I have a flight to catch at 12. How can you just give me pain medication so I can make it to my flight? It's not that I'm thinking about it, it's like, man, I was in a better place, because if I got to Cameroon, the city where I will land in is a predominantly French-speaking country. I will not be able to translate what I just translate to these doctors here. And they might be treating me for the wrong thing, and you will probably not see me here today. At 6.9, I had to get 2 blood transfusions in Lagos before I could leave. Leaving Lagos, I was still very faint of breath. I had to get all the way to 8 point something in my hemoglobin for me to be able to travel, because the air density is not good on the air. So when I landed, before that, bless God for my doctor that I had in the States, she had already organized an hospital in DC where I was supposed to land, to make sure that I go straight there so they can do multiple checks again on me. So that's what I want to talk about, this information, because I know I can advocate for myself. People who don't know, they can't advocate. My friend Aaron had someone he met in New York, and I think it was at night time he was calling me. It's like, hey Manny, what's going on? I said, I'm good. He said, everything good? It's like, yeah. I think my friend might have sickle cell. I was like, what do you mean? It's like, he's having severe pain right now. The only reason Aaron could understood what was happening because he has done too many videos of us, and he has learned, and I've talked about these things, and he was able to be a better advocate. Now I want people like Aaron, I want people like the doctor that you saw to be able to be in our community, so we can also spot these things and be able to help the people that needs this help, which is why we're here today. Anyone wants to share? Tough, huh? Smile, it's okay.
That's very tough.
It is tough. It is tough.
So, healthy lifestyle changes, staying hydrated, eating balanced diet, regular medication checkups. Then we go into like the more advanced ones, which are like blood transfusions. As mentioned, I had to get 2 blood transfusions in Lagos. You know, I have pictures of those I can show you too if you want to see.
Man, what kind of diet, like, do you have to be on? Like, what do you have to eat?
So, it's more advised fruit and vegetable diet.
No meat.
And I eat meat from time to time.
He's eating at fancy restaurants, part of the treatment.
Right. The best of the best, only.
I learned from EJ and so I mean, healthy diet means a lot of plant-based, a lot of water, a lot of lean protein. You know, because sometimes too a lot of heavy protein. I don't know why it's called it. Explain why they call it lean protein, please.
It's just in the calorie content, actually.
Correct. Because some heavy protein might lead to damages with the kidney.
Oh wow.
And also maybe the liver as well.
So you don't eat steak?
Time to time, I substitute. I only eat lamb right now. I haven't eaten a steak diet for a long time. So if I'm substituting, it would be chicken and lamb. Yeah.
So your digestion will still be slower, right?
Yeah, it
Probably,
takes a
yeah.
while, yeah. So, then we have what we now call bone marrow and stem cell transplant. The only potential cure, but it said potential, but it's not yet proven. Because there's people who have done this and they're still a couple of years later fall into a couple of complications as well. But it's a complex and not stable for everyone. That's what they added onto that particular part. What lifestyle changes can help manage sickle cell disease? Patients are advised to stay hydrated, drink plenty of water, eat healthy diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and lean protein. Avoid extreme temperatures, dress warmly in cold weather, and avoid overheating. Exercise moderately while avoiding tremendous activities. I would love to be as buff and as everything. I had a trainer one time, man. we trained, but my thing is, I was doing well, but I found that when I go too far, I am fatigued, I lose so much oxygen at that time, then I start to throw up. So what's the point? So I just succumb to my push-ups, all those things in my home, and I can go to the gym once a time to lift some weight. That's it. Prevent infections with regular vaccinations and prompt treatment of infections. Now we're almost done. We have the last two.
What do you do in the summer here in Texas? Do you?
Oh man, I try to keep the AC on flowing every time because I do not do well with heat. That's why I was telling my parents sometimes I don't know if I can go back and live in Africa because the heat is drastic. It is hot in Texas, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it's hotter in Texas.
It's hotter in Texas.
Than Nigeria.
It is.
Nah, Nigeria's hot.
No, it's hotter here. This is so dry. Yeah, it's a different kind of heat. It's a different kind of heat.
How to think about your
I'm
life.
telling you.
Dallas
He
is
slaps
Dallas
you
is
as
so
soon as you
hot.
land in Nigeria.
I think Dallas is like
Straight from there.
Nigeria is thick.
As soon as you got
Dallas is dry.
you start smelling, you feel it. Yeah.
So I'm gonna share some more stats, then we're gonna go into this.
Nah, you can smell it. You can definitely smell it.
I'll share some more stats, one more page, and we go into the last two questions. And anyone who wants to chime into anything, information, whatever you want to share, we'll share it and we'll close. We talked about Sub-Saharan Africa, we talked about India, and I think what was the place? Sorry. It's in the India and Middle Eastern, I believe. Caribbean and Latin America, very varying in mortality. In the Caribbean, there is a significant sickle cell disease population, with countries like Jamaica having high prevalence rates. Mortality varies widely, with better survival in countries with robust healthcare systems and poor outcomes in those with fewer resources. Reducing mortality. Newborn screening programs. In regions with newborn screening, early diagnosis has led to timely treatment, significant reducing child mortality. Gene therapy. Clinical trials for gene therapy offers promising curative approach, but these are not yet widely available. Improve access to care. Expanding access to treatments like hydroxyurea, blood transfusion and pain management can drastically lower mortality. Prevention of infection, vaccination and antibiotics prophylaxis are critical in preventing infection, which are leading cause of death in child with sickle cell disease. In summary, while high income countries have significant lowered mortality rate through healthcare advancement and the majority of death, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, the rural parts of India occur due to inadequate access to early diagnosis, comprehensive care, and daily treatment. From what they said, daily death in those regions can still reach into the hundreds, though better global health initiatives are slowly improving outcomes. You made a point about blood transfusion. The reason why I was able to get blood transfusion because I had someone who donated blood. Now, I'm an O positive. I don't know if anyone else knows their blood type here. I'm able to give a lot of blood. But I also need
your own blood.
So, with people who have amazing blood turnout, I would love for you all to do something, once in a while and just give blood, because I appreciate the people who gave blood, because I have received almost, if I'm not mistaken, about 6 transfusions, or maybe 10 if I'm not mistaken, throughout my lifestyle, that has helped me get back to normalcy without any pain and all those things. So it really helps if you know that, so you can able to also give blood as well. Hydroxyurea. One of the things why I found out starting this work in Cameroon was the fact that I had a parent who shared with me. He's one of our spokesmen in Cameroon right now. His daughter has sickle cell. They never knew what was happening until they found out, and they also heard about the drug called hydroxyurea. Now in Cameroon, in the whole southwest region, you cannot find a pharmacy that can provide that medication for you. The only pharmacy we were able to find is a doctor who came and studied here in America, opened a pharmacy. Now he ships those medications back to Cameroon. Now I had to put a halt on a bulk medication for those, for our foundation. We now offer free medication to these families that we support. Because I feel as though this family don't even have the finances to be taking the kids to the hospital every time they get sick. But the fact that they can have this medication that can also help boost their hemoglobin, it will reduce the sickle cell crisis. So we offer it to them for free, but of course we're not pharmacies, so they have to see a doctor, and the doctor prescribes the medication, and we have a note card we present to them, and they go to this pharmacy and they can receive those drugs.
Is this a drug you take every day?
The drugs I take every day.
You take it multiple times a day?
Just once a day.
Once a day.
Yeah. I take 3 pills of the hydroxyurea every day. With other pills too. You should see my little cubicle.
Your little cubicle. I have another close friend with sickle cell, and I've known him now for probably about 7 years. In the 7 years I've known him, he was always in the hospital for about maybe 3 or 4 of them. Then he was able to do a clinical trial similar to the one that you mentioned, the stem cell. Once he did that, he doesn't have as many crises. I think he's been in the hospital 1 other time, and he actually just had a baby boy, and they did all of the testing and things like that. And his wife she doesn't have the
amazing.
But so that he was my first ever hearing about doing the clinical trial and it being semi-successful, in that he's not in the hospital every month like he was before. So,
what is that treatment called?
It's a medication, hydroxyurea.
Okay.
It was the research, the clinical trial. The clinical trial.
The stem cell.
Yeah, that's what he did. Yeah.
The stem cell treatment usually has to be done like siblings that are in the same capacity to offer those. sometimes.
I think now they're trying to grow like labs because they're trying to do everything technology to avoid.
But it can be avoided. It can be avoided.
I mean, to avoid situations where parents would just have a child because they want to treat another child. So the child.
It's possible.
Ends up. Yeah.
Oh.
Anymore.
I think it's really heartbreaking that, you know, the oppression and stigma affects children who are the most vulnerable.
Yeah.
And you were saying that like 95% of deaths occur in the children under 5.
Yes.
It sounds like there's a lot of preliminary testing and preventative measures, that, you know, could really help prevent a lot of suffering that these children have to go through on a daily basis.
Yes.
And
one
that
of the
like
3 programs we push in our organization is the education, the availability of the meds for people who don't have it. The kid that spoke about Uganda as well, she mentioned the mom cannot find medications for her in the areas where she stays at, and she was asking me how we can ship some to her from Cameroon. And I didn't know how. I called the pharmacy and they told me they don't have people there that they work with. So we have people like this who are going through those things. So the medication is really important. Then of course the advocacy and the genotype testing. We want to make sure people know their genotype before they get to having kids. Or just know.
I was going to say that's where the heaviest responsibility actually lies.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, if you know your genotype prior, then you're prepared if you still want to go through.
Yes.
And then having those channels
You
after.
should not want to go to a newborn.
Pretty much, yeah.
No,
Just for the kids,
it's actually
you know?
safe. It's actually safe to say you shouldn't go through so that you don't put, you know, some innocent child to. But you know, the human person.
Some people are already deep into the
yeah, they are
relationship
already
and
so deep into the
why
relationship,
it's-
and to them they'll not see it as a reason to break it off, but it actually should be a valid reason because you don't want to bring in a child and then, you know,
Suffering.
And
I'm sure people in that situation, if
Yeah.
they've had close experience and a close shade, it would supersede whatever other decision that's holding them together. Because you don't want to spend the rest of your life going through that with your kid.
Yeah. I have a question.
Also not after that. You know, there's other choices that
Yeah.
you can make.
true.
I mean,
especially in the States, because you can go through IVF as well.
Yeah, and there's other options.
There's a lot of
Well,
options. It just depends on your spiritual belief, you know.
IVF will still do it because it's still
It's still
the same
Yeah, blood,
thing.
you
So
know,
you still have a child
you
with,
have to get a donor, a surrogate.
unless you're getting a donor.
Donor.
And that would cost good money.
all of it's
At least there's
expensive.
different options you can make a choice
You can
of
make a
instead
choice
of-
of, yes.
Emmanuel, I have a
making
question for you. So you had said previously that you came here when you were 14,
Correct.
and then you also mentioned you didn't know you had sickle cell until you were about that age. And statistically, kids don't survive usually if they don't know it past 5. Why do you think that you survived?
Okay, so I did not know I had sickle cell until I came to the States. The reason why I feel like as though I survived to that long, which I believe if I was still in Africa, I would not survive past 21, as the doctor said, was because I also had parents who they were persistent to find what was wrong with me. They never gave up on me.
Yeah.
They wanted to know. Family too was just important because everyone was pouring information that they needed or felt like I needed to get better. So some people don't have that. So that's why I feel like I got to where I am right now. And also we were fortunate for my dad to move from the States in 2002. Then we came along in 2004 before I could find out what sickle cell was.
So
I mean, there's also the
very important.
yeah, and there's also the chance that you didn't really get any major complications. You know,
But I have so
usually-
many cuts around my body because we didn't just only sell English medications. There were so many traditional ones where they would strip me out and cut me with blades, rub medications over me and thinking that would cure it, and it never did. So there's also those things where I went through
Still all about the ignorance.
just to get better. So,
Yeah.
Oh, they were trying.
Yes. So my parents, they tried.
They
pushed.
tried.
They did
My
what
mom,
they wished.
don't play with me.
And just to emphasize on the newborn testing, you really can diagnose sickle cell before 6 months of life. So it just happens after 6 months. So I guess what the term newborn testing now is, testing the parents prior to the birth of the child, checking the genotype prior. But you can diagnose sickle cell in the first 6 months of life.
So that still puts more responsibility on the parents.
That's what I'm saying. The whole responsibility is actually on the parents before. Yeah.
So we have reached the end of this. I want to thank you all so much for being there.
Thank you.
It's amazing that we're able to learn from each other, and I would love for us to be better in advocating for the people who don't have that opportunity to speak up for themselves, so we can all live in a better and more healthy community. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's wonderful.
Yes, sir.